Yo, 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 guys, what is up? And welcome back to another episode of the Warriors Invitational. It's your boy Gautam with my boys Matt and Chuck. Gentlemen, welcome back. How we doing, man? Matt, Chuck, it's been a minute since we've had a full crew here.
Whew. It's it's a beautiful time of year, man. Warriors are absolutely scorching hot thanks to one Jimmy Butler. We got March Madness about to roll through. Getting ready for that tomorrow. Just gonna be absolute pig and slop for the next week plus. Watching all these games. Oh yeah, man, things are good. How we doing there, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, I'm obviously excited for, happy hour and March Madness for a few days in a row. It's going to be great. Um, it's a good time to be let down, man. I haven't actually had high hopes in a long time. And there's nothing like, having low hopes and getting let down is consistently sucks, but having high hopes, getting let down is at least the thrill of what's possible, but unlikely. So, life's good, man. These Dubs are doing great, and March Madness is the best time of the year.
Best time of year, man. We are getting to meaningful hoops, as one Steph Curry likes to say. And Warriors doing pretty well, man. 40 and 29. I think forget the last time we honestly talked, but trade deadline 25 and 26 at the All-Star break, to now be 40 and 29. It's been a great run for the Warriors. Jimmy Butler obviously coming into the fold and really looking the part, really looking why we wanted to go out and get a number two guy. And we're kind of seeing that in real time right now. Let's pick it up. The homestand, excuse me. We 7 game homestand. Warriors started off 4-0, beat the Knicks, and then obviously had the Nuggets, Bucks, and then we got the Raptors coming up here. And the Knicks, the Bucks, and the Nuggets were obviously the tough stretch in this homestand. Matt, I think you and I had talked before the homestand kicked off, and we said if we can get through 2-1 in that 3 game stretch, good spot. And hopefully end up not losing any other games. Got one more left against the Raptors tomorrow night, but Warriors holding their own, 5-1 on this current homestand, and a huge, kind of an insane 2 day stretch. Honestly, one of the more fun 48-hour periods for Warriors fans of late. Dubs obviously blow a game, which we'll talk about it. We'll blow a game to the Nuggets that had a lot of standing implications. Guys were out. Jokic and Murray. Steph was on the fence, ended up playing, didn't have the best game. Then to bounce back against the Bucks last night, Jimmy Butler, full playoff Jimmy mode. So Chuckster, man, talk to me, brother. Like what, especially the last 3 games, the Knicks, the Nuggets, and the Bucks. Just kind of give me your thoughts about what you've seen, kind of the Steph-less Warriors with Jimmy last night, and then also kind of talking through the loss against Denver, and also yeah, just what you've been seeing so far from this team.
Yeah, well, like you said, just a weird, crazy 3 game stretch because I feel like now that the Warriors, people are noticing this hot streak, they're seeing the way they're playing. But everyone's looking at the schedule and they're saying, well, who'd you play? We've had like multiple games against the Hornets, we've had the Magic, we've had like beaten up teams. We had the Bucks earlier in that stretch, but without Giannis. So there was like fair questions being asked. Is like how real is this until they start playing the high quality teams? And there's no better way to find out than having 3 games in 4 days against multiple 40-win teams, and then the Bucks, who had nearly an identical record. I think they're still fourth in the East right now. It's weird that because of the injuries and the rest days and everything on all sides, it feels like we didn't really find out that much about this team because obviously 2-1 is excellent. Like you walk out of 3 games in 4 days against that quality of opponent, 2-1 is great. But first game against New York, there's no Jalen Brunson, and they still have to squeak by. It's a tight game. Like you said with the Denver game, that one felt even weirder because, of course, you should beat this Nuggets team when they're resting Joker and Jamal. But you have Aaron Gordon having like his highest scoring game of the season. He was just like cashing threes left and right. Just he was everywhere. They couldn't do anything with him. And you also have Steph playing one of his worst games in a long time. So it feels frustrating because you're like, these things that normally don't happen happened. Uh, and then you go to this Bucks game. No Steph. So you kind of saw the Jimmy putting his money where his mouth is. He gave that quote where he said, "Hey, when it's time for me to like put the ball in my hands and get aggressive, you'll see it." And he goes out. He nearly has a triple double. He was just an insane playmaker. He made so many clutch passes down the stretch. Just broke apart their team when it came down to the need for half court offense. It's like, well, Jimmy's just going to dribble around until he found someone open because Damian Lillard or a lot of these Bucks guys are going to leave guys open. We saw that on that major pods clutch three down the stretch. But yeah, it just felt weird because 2-1 would feel great if it's just like, oh, they were just going toe to toe with these teams like at full strength. If you'd look at it and you're like, okay, yeah, the Denver loss is tough, but if they had lost with against Jokic, that'd feel pretty normal. Like Nuggets just kind of have our number lately. And then you'd be like, hey, okay, like two other strong teams, we beat them at full strength. But instead, it just leaves this weird feeling of like, what did we even figure out after this stretch about this team? I'm curious, Matt, if there's anything you saw in these games that you feel like, oh, we can actually have a takeaway from this other than, wow, that was really weird.
So not I'm actually I think you described that really well. I don't we didn't beat any team at their best necessarily, but I do want to say like New York's defense has been really good since Brunson went out. I think Josh Hart had like a funny quote on that, basically saying it's because Brunson's out, they're playing so well on that end. Um, they survived a really, really awesome cat game. Props to him. Um, and I also just kind of think they were going to go 2-1 in that stretch no matter what. I don't think if they win that Nuggets game, I don't think they beat the Bucks the next day. I think their urgency is just not there. Um, but no, overall, I don't take a whole lot from this. And Chuck, we talked about this Gautam and I did last episode. Um, are you on the Warriors can win a title train right now? Like, where are you right now? Because we had this conversation last time. We both talked about how this stretch was like an important stretch to kind of decide. And given that you asked that question, right, I don't necessarily feel one way or the other as of now. I think their peak is good enough. I'm gonna let you answer the question just a second, by the way, but I do want to give you one thought. One takeaway is this team can win games ugly. Like they can win some really ugly games. They're kind of the grinded out Warriors once again. I think Gary Payton coming alive is a big part of that. And that's not something I would have said a while ago. And they can win games ugly because of, I mean, it's because of all those guys. Like Steph thrives with you know, um, the garbage truck guys. Jimmy's one of those guys. Draymond's one of the guys. But that Bucks game was hideous, man, in a lot of ways. Like the last 6 minutes, it was not. It was Brandon Pajewski hitting big threes and Jimmy Butler setting everybody up, like you said, Gotham. That's my big takeaway. They can win ugly games. What that means in the scheme of things, title wise, I don't know. If you put a gun to my head, I would tell you it's unnecessary. I just you don't need to. I'm saying they're not going to win. But I want to see where you're at right now.
Yeah, I don't think much has changed since the last time we talked about this team, where how good they looked with Jimmy. I think I still firmly fall on they need to hit all the right matchups, and we'll talk more about those matchups later on in this episode. But they need to hit the right matchups because the West is brutal. There are some teams that I think would clean them out, no problem. Um,
Name them.
and well, we'll do a little
Save
saving on
save for
that. A
later.
little,
No.
yeah, gotta keep the people waiting, But
Marketing genius right there.
I think, yeah, like I think they'd have to hit the right matchups, and I also think they'd have to very specifically hope for the Celtics to be the team that comes out of the East. Because I think if they manage to luck through everything, like let's say just the right teams get taken out by someone else in the West, they hit the right matchups, they somehow find themselves in the finals. I think going into the finals against Cleveland's Twin Towers, especially with like, I don't know if they have an answer for Evan Mobley. I don't know. I don't think they have an answer at all for Jared Allen. And then on top of that, you've got Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland playing out of their minds. Um, yeah, the Cavs have stumbled a little bit recently, but I think they've been pretty firmly the most dangerous team in the league this year, and yeah, they would need to get a lot of luck to get there. So ultimately, I fall on like if they get the right matchups, could they find themselves in the Western Conference? Like I think that's a more realistic ceiling. Like in the Western Conference Finals. But it really is just tough to see how the picture shakes out right now because we're looking at the teams above them. Like right now, they're in the sixth spot. You don't know who's going to be three on a night to night basis. With Minnesota, the way they've been playing, the way their schedule shakes out, you don't even know if you're going to end up with six, even if you keep winning at this rate. Like they could win 50 games and still be the seven seed. So I still don't see the title ceiling, but I think that's fine. I think when we talked about this team around the deadline, the Jimmy move showed that they're serious. And now we've seen the results to say, okay, like Steph, Jimmy, Draymond, like that's a real trio right there. Moses has stepped in and played big minutes. Pods looks great. Quentin Post looks great. GP2 is resurgent, like you said, Matt. So I think so much of it is just finding out when we go up against these teams in the West. These are all teams that are like still going to be held together next year. No one's going anywhere. Thunder aren't moving off anything anytime soon. The Rockets are up and coming. The Nuggets are still going to have Jokic. The Lakers got fucking Luka. Thank you, Nico Harrison, you asshole. But no one's going anywhere. So I think this is a good like position you're in where it doesn't feel title or bust. And regardless of the results, you can go back in and evaluate, and you got some moves to make this offseason. So I think this team's still like the ceiling's about Western Conference Finals if they hit those right matchups.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's fair. I'm obviously going to take the other side of this. I think that and this is outside of a little bit of the homers I'm speaking, obviously, but my takeaway from just this stretch and largely like having Jimmy in the fold next to Draymond, dude, these guys they can play championship level defense. They are a fantastic defensive team. And their best defensive lineup is the lineup when Steph's not out there, which bodes well for a playoff series in my eyes because you know how you're going to do in the Steph minutes in some sense. You feel good when Steph's out there. But a lineup of like Jimmy, GP2, Draymond, who else was out there? Like JK, I think played really well defensively on the ball. Moody, like there's a lot of good defensive guys that you can kind of mix and match next to Jimmy and Draymond, and they're looking good, man. They're able to go on runs. I think it's really that beginning of the second quarter unit when Steph's on the bench. It just feels like they're really suffocating. They're pressuring the ball. They're able to get steals. And for me, it's all about like, can you repeat this process? And this defense looks very repeatable on a nightly basis. Yeah, they've had a couple goose. I think the Nuggets game was kind of one of those. Just they took it unseriously. It was a trap game, due for a loss, whatever you want to say. But for the most part, especially going up against the Knicks, I think and again, Brunson wasn't there, so kudos. But even last night against the Bucks, man, like Draymond had a DPOY night, like, and I think I don't know what the conversation is looking like, but I know Wemby's out. He's got to be in that conversation this year. Draymond defensively has been great. He's your anchor leading the way. You've got Jimmy who can roam everywhere and kind of. There's a couple plays already that Jimmy's just kind of made just reading it at the right time and being able to stop guys at the rim. He had one last night against the Bucks. And so that defense gives me a lot of hope. I think offensively, there's definitely a ceiling there. They still go on stretches where they can't score, turn the ball over, and that's really been the Achilles heel for Warriors teams have passed for sure, but especially the last like 3-4 years, where if they turn the ball over, they beat themselves, they're losing games. So again, there's no real fix to that. I think that there's more spacing that's needed, and I don't think they have that on the roster today. So I'm with you there, Chuck. Like if they're if and when they fall short this season, it's going to come down to the offensive side of the ball because they can't generate consistent look. Like I love GB2, but he's not shooting 46% or whatever it is for like the rest of the year. And that's just, I mean, he's getting good looks, he's getting open shots. Jimmy's definitely opened up a lot of stuff for guys like him, Moses, Pods, like they're getting looks. But I haven't seen enough from this team yet to tell me that they're going to consistently hit those. So that is where my concern is. But defensively on that side of the ball, it looks repeatable, man. I think that these guys can definitely play that, like you said, Matt, just kind of win those dirty games, play, kind of ugly and nice. And also just like, and that's what the playoffs are all about. Like if you're gonna go on stretches where you're gonna just need to get stops and hang in a game. I think the Warriors can do that. So yeah, it's gonna be matchup dependent. A lot of their like championship aspirations, but I don't think it's out of the question that this team can win a championship as presently constructed because of that defense. So that was my takeaway from this kind of stretch. Again, we'll have to see what that looks like, but they're definitely in terms of like teams in the West right now that I'd take, like outside of OKC, like you feel like you hear the TNT guys talk about it, who's the second best team in the West? The Warriors are in that conversation right now, in my eyes. Like there's not a clear cut number two, and we can talk about Houston, Memphis, all those young teams. I'm taking the teams that have done it for the Denvers, the Lakers, the Warriors in that, some capacity there. So I think it's something there. I think anybody matches can beat anybody. But the Warriors are right there. I think they can beat anybody on any given night. And especially in the playoff series, Steph and Jimmy's hard to beat, man. That's two all-time playoff risers.
I think given well, the problem you talked about is offense, right? And I think it's kind of a natural segue into our Jonathan Kuminga questions we're gonna be asking. I just want to say I actually fucking agree with Gautam. I think this team can win a title. As strange as that sounds, like I said, I've got high hopes.
Got Matt on the bandwagon, dude. Let's go.
I'm gonna say can, to be fair. I do agree that the brackets got to break right. They got to be brackets got to break right. They got to be the right side of things. But I'm sorry, like I'm not scared. I'm not scared of anybody except for the Lakers, kind of. And there's all kinds of reasons for that. And I don't like saying that out loud. I fucking hate myself for it. But again, we've talked about the refs. We've talked about no matter what you do, you're not stopping Luka and LeBron, most likely, right? Those are the two guys who are going to figure out whatever you're doing. And Steve Kerr seems to like to ask LeBron before games what they should do, the Warriors, so LeBron can play best against them. But this team can, I think they can fucking do it. I do want to jump back though to the Kuminga stuff because I think a lot of what we've talked about and a lot of people have talked about going into the postseason is that this team needs Kuminga and the skill sets he brings as a downhill scorer, freak athlete. First of all, I don't know if that's true. I don't know if this team needs him to be awesome, and it is 3 games. I want to be clear. He's back for 3 or 4 games, right? He had that good stretch against Sacramento, which led to some truly baffling takes regarding him being better than guys like Jalen Johnson, Scotty Barnes, from some pretty well-respected reporters and journalists. But he's not, to be clear. I don't think any of us think that. I'm not going to roll with that. It just looks clunky. And I want to ask you guys, I want to play a quick game with you guys. I didn't prepare you for this, didn't bring it up in the outline. I just want to ask you, player by player, playoff game, who do you trust more at this point? I want to go through basically everybody outside of the Warriors' big three. Okay. So let's just start here. Moses, Moody, or Kuminga? Got them.
Moody.
Chuck.
Oh, Moody, easy.
Okay. Pods or Kuminga? Got them.
Pods.
Chuck.
Pods. Yeah.
Okay.
I wouldn't have thought I said that at the beginning of the season.
I'm gonna keep going. GP2 or Kuminga? Got them.
GP2.
Chuck.
Yep. Still got to go carry.
I'm Loon Dog or Kuminga. Got them.
Can't bet against my guy Loon, dude. But I mean, yeah, he's gonna rebound the fucking ball. Yeah, Loon. I trust him.
That one kind of depends on like the matchup to me. Yeah, like if we're trying to
let me rephrase this. You're closing a game. You're closing a game right now.
I'm going with Kuminga over Loon right now to close the game. I love Loon. I think most matchups it would end up being JK. As much as I love the segment, I'm gonna have to go with JK on that one.
Just keep in mind the other 3 guys are Jimmy, Draymond, and Steph.
Yeah, yeah. He's already like 7th on the team right now. Like
that's what I mean. That's what I mean is like the only reason is like, do you want to go super big like that and take take Jimmy and Draymond out of being like the front court guys? If Looney, if the positions were swapped, You know what I mean? I'd be like, oh, give me Looney all day. But Kuminga just for being that athletic wing type guy instead.
I'm still taking Loon. I'm sorry. I'm just saying if the fifth guy, let's just say it's Pods or Moody, and it's Looney, um it's JK, or sorry, Looney, it's Jimmy, it's Draymond, it's Steph, and it's Moody. And there's a close three minute game left, and you gotta just figure it out. It's a tie game, and you need some stops, and you need some possessions. I don't know. I'm just saying. But the fact that I'm even thinking about it's probably more to our
Yeah,
point.
I mean
I'm gonna move on though. Go go.
that's not how like I feel like people got to remember what we had Kuminga in mind for. Like it's his fourth year in the league, and he was a project to begin with. Now's when you're supposed to see the returns on that. And the fact that we're having this conversation, for better or for worse, like I do like JK. I'm a believer in JK. Like I think he's got the talent. I just don't know if it's going to be seen on this team.
Yeah, I think a lot of
Yeah,
this needs to be like, at least for myself, like it's not. I'm not saying I'm out. I'm also I gave the caveat that it's been 3 games for a reason. Like we saw Kuminga playing some really good
yeah, yeah.
basketball before he got hurt. There's still a chance, but I'm just saying the way things are going, the way this team was playing before he got back, there's a lot of questions to ask. I'm gonna move on though. Guy Santos, got him.
Key.
Chuck.
Uh, I'm gonna trust Kuminga because I
Okay.
think they need the offense.
Okay. But okay, do you think you're getting that offense though? What are you getting from Kuminga in a playoff series in a close game? Do you think?
I think you get like we've seen times where the offense just stalls out and he does make some bad decisions with the ball in his hands, but for better or worse, like he can just take the ball, put it on the deck. He can get to the line, get to his mid-range spots.
But
Um,
my only pushback on that is that my biggest issue with JK right now is the free throws, man. Like he's not a consistent free throw shooter that I can trust, especially when like the thing about Jimmy, what makes him special is he's hit. I mean, a lot of different things, but when he gets the line, you trust that he
11
can
for
make those
11
free
last
throws.
night, man.
You trust like, hey, we need a bucket, we need something. I'm gonna get fouled. I'm not worrying about, dude, is this guy gonna go 1 for 2 from the line? Like I know that Jimmy is gonna hit his shots more often than not. The thing with JK is with his skill set of being able to get to the rim, being able to be that athletic over the top guy. If you can't hit free throws, that's where you're gonna that in a playoff series. That's the biggest thing in my eyes. Like things are gonna get clunky, things are gonna slow down. Yes, you have a guy in Kuminga that can slow things down, go one on one, beat a guy off the dribble, get to the rim. But he's not the best finisher. And when he's surrounded with contact, which is what playoff basketball is all about, and he's not a great free throw shooter. So like when you're weighing that, I see a guy like Gee, better shooter from the outside, spaces the floor a little better than JK. Just not even just out hustles JK. It's like probably the most like the best motor on the team in terms of just being able to go after loose balls and things like that. So like the question being, trusting a guy down the stretch in a playoff series, Kuminga's not in my top 7 or 8 guys at this time, and that's including obviously the big three. But um, yeah,
See, I
I
go both
I
ways, Chuck. I want to like real quick just say like I agree that like again we've seen Kuminga go through stretches and Chuck. You had a piece on this a while ago where he's had moments where he's been among the most like prolific mid range scorers. Efficiency wise, he's not right now. Obviously, it's not looking like this situation's conducive to him. And even in saying that, I also want to say they gotta start throwing him out there with like Post and Steph lineups. Like putting him out there with like Jimmy and Draymond and like Gary Payton, he's not gonna look good. That situation got me brought that up before we started recording, but it's all the question also kind of comes up too. It's like again, Chuck, I do agree with the idea of like him being a third guy who can actually make a play for himself. How often though in those moments do you want somebody not named Steph or Jimmy with the rock? And that might mean collapsing defense and getting the ball to somebody else. It might mean getting a shot from themselves. Um, it's just a food for thought. And even then, it's really easy to say something like a guy. I mean, in all fairness, Guy Santos is having a great season, but I don't know if he's more than ninth or 10th man on a really good team. It's hard to tell. And it's also hard to tell what things he does well and how he does them well is going to translate to a playoff series. Chuck, to your point. So I'm kind of in between you guys. I could see both ideas. Chuck, go though.
yeah, no, I agree with you. And I think like you said that him and Jimmy is pretty rough. Um, the stats so far are actually really hilarious. It's still only 67 total possessions with Jimmy and Kuminga on the floor together, but they're a minus 20.6, which is a first percentile number. The offense is terrible, but they also have a 40% free throw rate, which I kind of makes sense. Like any Jimmy lineup's gonna have a high free throw rate, and then you've got Jonathan just bullying his way into the paint. Um, I come back to like all the guys that we talked about are reliable, consistent role players, and Jonathan is not that. Like he's not consistent. He's not always going to be reliable.
He's
There are
not
going
a
to be
role
aspects
player.
of it.
He's not a role
He's
player.
not a role player. Yeah, but so I think that's why this stretch is going to be really interesting to see what kind of use they look like. They kind of ramped him up minutes wise. Obviously, he played a lot against Denver, played a good amount against Milwaukee. Did not have good shooting nights, but looked good against Sacramento. Had a decent enough game against the Knicks. So, what I think is the problem is if everything's clicking and the offense looks fine, I think you play the role guys. I think what you need to prepare JK for is you need to be like the break glass in case of emergency. Our half court offense is fucked. Like if they just have no juice coming together, then I think you throw them out there as a potential catalyst. It's kind of like, they found a little more consistency, I think, with the Buddy lineups, but it's kind of like Buddy, where you throw him out there and it's like, hey, we got no shooting right now. Like we need a guy who could just go 4 for 5 in a quarter and like turn this game on its head. Now the other thing is he might go 0 and 5 in that quarter, and then it's like, well, now we went from screwed to totally fucked. And I think that's the kind of territory that you need to put JK in right now because you look at this team, the starting group that they've had when healthy, Steph, Pods, Moody, Jimmy, and Draymond, rock solid. Like you got to keep rolling with those guys. Then you've got Quentin Post, who's proved himself to be extremely useful. You've got GP2 having this resurgence. He's such a dog defensively. Gee looks like a guy who needs to play. Um, Healed may need minutes. Kavan may need minutes. So what I come back to is like, do you really want to expand the playoff rotation to include someone like JK, or is he going to be like a conditional matchup based guy where maybe we throw him out there for like the last 3 minutes of the quarter because the offense stalled out, or it's like, oh, we're playing this team and like Jimmy got them in the bonus because he's been doing that a lot. He'll just come in and have these stretches where he just draws 3 fouls in like 2 minutes and suddenly pressure's on. Maybe is that the time to press the Kuminga button and say, okay, if they even touch him on his drives, it's free throws. So he's not the most consistent shooter, but points are points. Um, I think he's going to be very matchup dependent, and I think that's what they need to figure out over these last 13 games. Is
So can I ask you
do
on that note? Do you think he's
yeah,
gonna be or should be? Gonna be match dependent, or do you think he should? I think I agree he should be at this point, right? But I think there's a lot of politics at play here, right? There's a lot of Joe Lacob to think about. There's a lot of contract stuff. Do you think that's actually how it's going to go, or do you think that's how it should go, or is it obviously it could be both? But where are you at there?
I think if he had been healthy, he like should be. I think he should be matchup dependent. Unless he just like pulls together some hot streak. I think he should be matchup dependent. I think if he wasn't coming off this really long injury layoff and the team wasn't looking so good, then yes, the politics would start to like override that, and it'd be like, yeah, maybe there's better groups we can put out there, but we got to make a decision on paying this guy, so we need to kind of put him out there, see what's going on, and yeah, I do think that this injury and the way that they played gives them a convenient reason to see what they have out of him over these last regular season games. Especially where we've got these next 5 games are all against pretty rough teams. So I think you give them the opportunity to build up some consistency. And then if you're not getting it, you start to like shorten up towards the playoff rotation once that stretch against the tough West teams comes. And then you say, hey, dude, sorry, but sometimes, sometimes them's the breaks. Like you get hurt, the team makes a trade, they go on a run, and we can't really just like reintegrate you in a way that makes sense.
I think it just also really stands out. Like you brought up role playing, Chuck. I think that was an awesome point on a team that has like in the Jimmy Butler the short era trying to find itself as gritty, and they're playing, they're just like balls to the wall, diving on the floor. I think it's really stark when a guy is not playing like that. And that's just not in his nature, right? We're not seeing Kuminga dive in loose balls. We're not seeing Kuminga, fight for a tip ball or get the ball to somebody's hands. It just, to me, it just stands out a lot. But Gotham, do you have any kind of final thoughts on JK?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is obviously the biggest question in the offseason, and I'm with Chuck. I think it should be, my the way I've envisioned Kuminga fitting in is kind of how Chuck described it, but he's your X factor in the sense like he puts you over the top in a lot of different ways if he's playing well. He's a guy that can get you 18 to 20 a night. He's a guy that, like first game in Sacramento, I mean, it looked like he was he'd fit right in, whatever. But like again, there's growing pains, and so I do want to see the next few games, Chuck. I think you brought up a good point. Just playing, some an easier Eastern Conference stretch. Hopefully, you use that as a tune-up going into April. But yeah, I'd like to see JK kind of get a couple more games under his belt before I'm fully like on a side. But yeah, I'm definitely leaning towards like there are guys on this team that we've seen contribute more at this point, and can help this iteration of the Warriors because like it's a completely different team than when JK last played before he got hurt. Like it's not the same team at all. And JK was the second option. Some nights he was the first option out there. He's the third, fourth, depending on what shots you're getting, fifth option. So like it's not a great fit. And like you said, Matt, I think when you guys said it, the offense just kind of looks clunky at times. It looks even clunkier when Kuminga's been out there. Again, I'm with you. I think matchup or personnel wise, would like to see him with more of the shooters out there. Maybe Steph, Jimmy, Post, and Buddy or something like that. Or if you want to lead a little bit more defense, somebody else like Moody. But just a little something to open him up a little bit more. Maybe last night just wasn't the best lineups that were out there. But again, like that also begs the thing where you can't always play like certain lineups now, which that should never come if there's lineups that are working, and JK is the reason, or it's JK is in there and it's not. You gotta pick to what's going to help you win a game or win a championship.
That's a great freaking point. I love it's we get in this mode like what lineups can be best for Kuminga or whoever the young guy is at the time, right? For a
Yeah,
while it was Wiseman, and I also want to be clear, guys. Like I think James Wiseman was. I truly think he was the worst player in the NBA during his tenure with the Warriors, the worst rotation player. I don't think Kuminga is that. But yeah, you can't tailor who you're playing to get a guy going who's
yeah,
when he's going is not driving, winning at a high level.
yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, dude, like this team won whatever 15-2 or something, whatever it was before Kuminga came back. Whatever that record was, they were playing really well. They obviously found something that worked. They found some combinations that worked. And now to integrate you back, Chuck, I think that was a great point. Like we're not gonna sell the chance of winning playoff series and playoff games because you're not a full part of it. So yeah, I think that it's gonna be the biggest question you have in the offseason. I think it's gonna make or break the run in the sense, how this all plays out. Just with what the Warriors can do. But on the upside, I think Kuminga gives you another dimension to an already pretty multi-dimensional team. On the flip side, kind of tanks it when it's not perfect out there. So you're gonna have to see. I think that yeah, I mean, come off season, you kind of hope Kuminga doesn't play him out of himself out of some sort of conversations. Cam Johnson-esque type guys. Is he even worth that after like whatever the contract is? So big stretch here for on the JK part especially. Like there's a lot of decisions and a lot of money that could be moving around or staying based on how JK fits back in. So it's gonna be fun to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
I think the one last thing on JK too is you made a good point of like, the volatility that he brings is it's tough to stomach. And I really do think too, it's like if you're playing the role guys and it's going well and you're playing them close, like it's kind of hard to justify throwing them out there, and the concern is that like, someone's gonna look at this and like if the goal is like well, he didn't really play in the playoffs, and the Warriors go out, and then his sign and trade is a valuable way to bring in pieces in the offseason. Like, you're kind of selling low, but I think you need to make the exchange of we need to give ourselves the best chance at winning this year. And if that means, having like this rough stretch for Kuminga, if he's getting, DNPs, or if he's getting like 8 minutes in playoff games, it's just kind of what you have to do. Like, you've already made the commitment with Jimmy. You've gone in on boosting the Steph and Draymond years as much as you can. Like, it would just be kind of short-sighted to play Kuminga because you think you need to get some value.
And on that point,
Um,
you've also hit on the youth movement. Like it's not like JK is like the last like oh the youth that whole second two timeline plan that like you hit on pods, you hit on post, you hit on Gee, you hit on Moody. Like
All guys, by the way, you're going to get good deals on. But those
great
are
deals
not
on.
guys
Like
you're
you're
going
gonna
to
be
break the
able to
bank
keep
on.
very, very good NBA role players together. They're gonna be here. They fit well already. So it's not if I'm Lacob, I'm looking at this very, very just objectively being like, hey man, like this guy's not gonna get us over the top. We gotta make a move for something that will. So or someone that will. But yeah, I think that it's gonna be an interesting couple weeks, man. We have because I think you can't obviously like experiment in the playoffs anymore. Like this, it's you got what you got. So we'll see. But kind of talking a little bit playoff wise and all that. We're talking about matchups a little bit. Who would be kind of the ideal run? Matt, you pointed out we're sitting at 6. Don't know what's going to happen. Honestly, they could move up, they could move down. There's a lot, obviously, that's still here in the final 13 games. But what what do you want to see from the final stretch? They got after tomorrow or tomorrow starting off like 5 games with semi-easy teams. Another road trip out east, but a Jimmy homecoming in Miami. You're playing Atlanta. A couple other teams that I'm forgetting off the top of my head, but. And then you go into April where you've got, playoff games to kick off the month against the Grizzlies, the Rockets, the Lakers, the Nuggets, and you play the Clippers in there to end the season. Suns, I think, are in there as well. So you've got a lot of good teams, a lot of teams that are jockeying for position. So you're going to start playing some serious playoff basketball the last like 6 to 8 games of the year. So what are you guys trying to see as they finish out the final 13 and where? Talk to me about my scenario, best case scenario playoff matchups and kind of where you think, or we can talk about seeding at the end, but playoff matchups and kind of next 13 games.
Yeah, I mean, these things kind of all go hand in hand, I guess, right? So, first of all, your goal's got to be 50 wins at this point. And Chuck, you brought it up earlier that might get you 7. This team staying at 6 or better is not. It's not a fucking given. The Wolves have a case schedule. We're praying on the Pelicans right now to knock them out today to give the Warriors a full game of separation. But no, I think you shoot 50 wins. And I think that means first of all going 5-0. Gotham, you mentioned that easy stretch. They got to kind of go perfect there. I think it's got to be a 5-0 stretch, get to 45, and then at that point you can essentially, I think, um, almost split. 500. That stretch of good teams. However, you mentioned the Grizzlies, Lakers, Rockets, Nuggets. Those are all worth 2 games. Like every single one of those games, basically. So if you nail those, all of a sudden, yeah, that's your chance to get out of 6, if you want to, or at the very least solidify it. As far as seeding goes, listen, I think 6 is the place to be. I think 6 is the place to be because I'm not breaking fucking news, right? They're not stay out of the play. Um, Stay out of the play-in. This team has not ever won a play-in game, to my knowledge or memory. I know that things are different now, but listen, it's not a place you want to be. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later. But if you're at 6 and listen, this is my ideal. It's Denver finishes 2, Houston finishes 3, Minnesota finishes 7, right? So you get Houston in the first round. Denver hasn't beaten Minnesota this year, and it's going back to the last playoffs. So you got to hope that Minnesota knocks out Denver in the first round. And if you can match up with um, Minnesota in the second round after playing Houston, you're thrilled. I think that's ideal. And the Warriors are 2-1 or 3-0 against them this year. If either you guys know better, let me know. But I know they had the season series at least. If you get Steph in the series, Rudy Gobert, That's gonna be it's all time embarrassment waiting. I'm sorry, my guy got benched in the Olympics playing the United States. I don't need to say much more. Okay, um, that's the key for me. Then all of a sudden you're not in the Lakers bracket. You're not, and it's if these things break this way, obviously, you're not in the Thunder bracket. Um, that's it. I'd love to see those two teams. I want to ask you guys first of all your thoughts, and I also want to ask: is there maybe a sleeper team or an obvious team you don't want to see? Because I got one in mind, but I want to hear from you guys first.
I mean, I agree with you on Denver. I don't want to see Denver. And the path you laid out sounds pretty ideal. I've been very adamant. Give me Houston, please. The I know that there's been a lot of changes with the team. I know that things have been overhauled. I know that they're better. There have been exactly as many pandemics as there have been Houston Rockets wins against the Warriors since February of 2020. It's insane. Like even this year, they just keep beating them up. And there's just like this. It's funny too because even though we've had the exodus, like Harden's not there, Chris Paul isn't there, there's no Trevor Ariza, Eric Gordon, like all the old guys are gone. We still saw it last year, like Tari Eason doing like the Warriors come out to play, and then Steph's kicked their teeth in, and was still just like talking trash. Um, we've seen it this year. There's bad blood. We all know how Dylan Brooks is in general. The Warriors don't like him. He doesn't like anybody. So like they'll get up for that one, and I think that's just a favorable court matchup on the court. But I think the way that they could manipulate Şengün, like they have guys who are good at defending him. Just the idea of uh, it was really interesting too. That was like one of the first games where they really brought together that new starting lineup when they beat the Rockets a couple weeks back. And Şengün, it was like they were flying a double team at him, and it was like Jimmy and Draymond were doubling him, and then he kicked the ball out, and they're in rotation, and they're comfortable in rotation. So I think that's a good matchup for them. I don't like Denver, as I said. I don't like LA at all because, as you said, they can handle one primary guy really well. And I think with the Jimmy and Draymond duo, the ability to throw out GP2 there too, they can handle any like prime matchup really well. I don't think they can handle two. I just don't think like the Luca LeBron tandem is so perfectly crafted to beat the shit out of them.
They that duo will solve you. They will figure you the fuck out, no matter who you are.
Yeah, like I want nothing to do with them. And I'm heavily rooting for them to fall. Like right now, they're still sitting in the 4 seed. Fingers crossed, Denver can pull that one out tonight because like you said, if the deal is Denver moves up to the 2 seed, they play Minnesota. Like you said, Minnesota gives them trouble. I like the Houston matchup. That sets them up well. And then if the Lakers are in the 4 or 5, if they got to play Memphis, I mean, I think they match up well against Memphis, but it's like, all right, let's see it against OKC. Let's see if you can take them down because I think the Warriors match up really well against Oklahoma City. So if they're the team that's waiting for you in the conference finals, I feel good about that as an upset. If you have the matchups go your way and then you get to the conference finals and it's an extremely motivated Luca and LeBron, fuck. Like that that would be so brutal. So yeah, I want nothing to do with that. Um, and also because we got to address the possibility, like it is becoming possible that they do slide to the 7 seed. Uh, the Clippers do worry me. Um,
Yep.
if if Minnesota manages to squeak past, squeak's probably the wrong word for it because like they've earned it. They've been balling out. I think they're like 13-0 in their last 13 games where Julius Randle plays or something insane. Like they've really just figured it out. So if they manage to get all the way up to the 6 seed, 7-8 is, the Clippers are pretty well locked in. If, the Warriors end up falling to 7 or if they fall to 8, like regardless, two of Minnesota, LA, and us are going to end up in that 7-8 game. And I do not like the matchup at all against LA because They have a ton of really good defenders. They can also grind you to a halt. Harden is playing really good ball. Kawhi seems to be back too. They've got a lot of good role players, and there's the Zubac problem. So yeah, like if we slip to the 7 seed, we play the Clippers. Fuck. And even if they end up winning the 9-10, like Sacramento is obviously struggling. They're getting injuries. Wow, I did not know it was six straight. It's six straight for the Clippers. Oh God, that's brutal. But even if they end up like winning against the 9-10, uh, yeah, like then you go first round Oklahoma City, and then 4 or 5 you end up like maybe having to play LA or Denver. I don't like that at all. So yeah, it's so crazy because I feel like I don't know how you feel, Gotham. Like it feels like every matchup I'm either like, all right, like I see the vision, I know how we can attack this team, I know that they're beatable,
Yeah.
or it's I don't know what the fuck to do with them. It's
Yeah,
like a team like Denver that just has our number, or it's a team like the Lakers that not only kind of has our number recently, but like, what do you even do against LeBron and Luca right now?
yeah, no, I didn't even think about the Clippers. I'm not even gonna lie. That's a great call out. Was not even assuming that they're gonna drop. But yeah, that's definitely a possibility. I'm with you guys. I think the schedule is going to give them a chance to be like if they aren't able to keep the 6 seed. I mean, obviously they don't deserve it, but they you didn't deserve to be out of the plan. Like a lot of these teams, like you said, the West is loaded, so it's going to be the best 6 teams that are going to be in the top six. I think the Warriors are there, um, but yeah, I think ideally I don't mind if I just want to play young teams in the playoffs. I think we match up well with all the young teams that are out there. The Grizzlies, the Rockets, the Thunder. The T-Wolves to an extent, they're playing really well, but they don't scare me as much. It's the teams like the Lakers, the Nuggets, the teams that have done it before. The Clippers, yeah, in a 1 game playoff, I think that would be very, very annoying. And obviously has a chance to upend them. If they somehow at some point see him in a series, they don't scare me as much. But I trust Steph and Jimmy in a 7 game series over them. But yeah, 1 game. LA has always kind of given us trouble lately, both the LA teams. But yeah, I think that's my biggest thing is can you stay on the bracket of the young guys? I think for me the ideal scenario is Memphis at 2, Houston at 3, Warriors at 6. Denver plays LA in the first round, so one of them get knocked out 4-5. Go on to play the Thunder. Who knows how that shakes out? And the Warriors side, you're playing you're going to be your path is the Rockets, and the one of the Grizzlies or the T-Wolves or the Clippers, whoever ends up in that spot. But I like our chances going up against a young team. So if Memphis ends at 2 or Memphis Houston 2-3, ideally Houston at 3, then you get Memphis in the semis for a chance to go to the conference finals to play one of the Thunder, the Lakers, the Nuggets who've played each other. I like your chances there. Yeah, I think for me, the team that scares me the most is the Lakers. Denver, like, yeah, we blew it to their team without Jokic and Murray the other night, but Denver doesn't scare me as much as years past. I just feel like from what I've seen, the bench isn't as deep. The guys aren't as consistent. Besides Jokic, obviously, Jokic terrifies me. Never want to be in a 7 game series with that guy, but I think we're getting a lesser-ish version of Jamal, Michael Porter. Gordon's been hurt, so you got to see how that goes. But yeah, I think stay with the young guys or stay playing the young team, stay on that side of the bracket, win out, man, and you're gonna have a chance in April to really gain some ground. So we'll see what's available for the Warriors. I don't know if they're gonna be able to. Um, I don't know if we're gonna be able to get up there, but they're gonna have a chance to at least move up and have a shot to at least solidify 6, like when you guys said earlier. So it'll be a good stretch, man. It's fun 13 games coming up. All right, Chuck. So before we get out of here, I know Matt had to dip. Real quick, prediction for the next 5. They've got let me pull it up real quick, but they start off with the Raptors tomorrow night, and then you go into Toronto, and then you've got the Miami homecoming. You got Atlanta, Miami homecoming, Pelicans, Spurs, and then you start off what's then, I mean, you're kicking off a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 game roadie. It ends with the Grizzlies and the Lakers, but you close out March with the Raptors, the Hawks, the Heat, the Pelicans, and the Spurs. So what's your prediction for the next five? I mean, it kind of has to be 5-0, right?
I think it has to be. Like you look at the stretch, it's comparable to the stretch they had at the beginning of the month, where they got uh, Charlotte. I mean, New York's still good, but they still had some injuries they were dealing with. I think that was the game without Cat, so that was like a tough one. But this team just keeps winning the games they should be winning, and especially against rough squads. Like we saw it like end of February too, where they went like Sacramento, Dallas, Charlotte, Orlando. I mean, the Philly game with Quentin Grimes was just insane. But then Charlotte again, Brooklyn. They have taken care of business. Portland, Sacramento. So I think it's got to be 5-0. Raptors have been playing good ball this month. The Warriors will be the first team over 500 that they play all month.
Nice.
So I think that'll be a bit of a reality check for them.
Steph
And
coming back to confirmed Sunday, so get him back for the stretch of games.
yeah, like Steph will be back and healthy. I'm hoping that these will be, like I said, some good JK games where he can get some more run and see what his consistency level is at. But Atlanta's struggling. Obviously, Miami is just really tanking, and Jimmy is going to be like demonic for
Yeah.
that game. Jimmy just when he's got a chance to like rub it in the face of a team that he feels wronged him, he's going to do it. And then obviously New Orleans, San Antonio speak for themselves. Their seasons are just headed in the wrong direction. So it's got to be 5-0. With the way the Wolves are playing, I think you're going to need 5-0 just to stay in the sixth seed. And as you said too, that roadie starts up with 4 games, and then you end with at Memphis, at LA, and then you come home for a home back to back against Denver. So you need these games.
Need him.
You need this because that's a tough stretch right there. Those are huge standings games, and I know where you're going with the record already, but it's 5-0. It's
It's
got to be
five and
five
zero,
and
and
zero.
it this isn't even a prediction. This is like it's got to be like you cannot drop one of these
Yeah.
games. You genuinely cannot. You got through the Nuggets Bucks back to back. You were able to go in that stretch 2-1 with the Knicks game in there. You've done the hard work. You've got five here that's just there for the taking. You're playing teams that are out of it, tanking, anything in between. Like zero excuse to lose any of these games. If you're a serious team, like if you're seriously wanting to be a contender, you cannot blow any of these five games. And then yeah, you got to finish out the road trip strong. But like those games, you want those games that kick off April to really mean something, and they start to mean something if you're able to go 5-0. You'll see how the rest of the West shakes out going in, but any shot that you have to wanting to solidify six, maybe even move up, but stay out of that fucking plane, you got to go 5-0 here. So that would put them at 45-29. You go 5-3 to end it out to get to to get to 50 wins. It makes this a whole thing just very, very doable. It comes at a good time. Allows you to play JK and Steph back. You let him get his rhythm back as well going into the bigger games in April. But yeah, when it's there on the schedule, man, you just doesn't matter who's out there, just find a way to get it done. But we will see, man. We will touch base in about a week. Let's see where we're at. But
Hmm.
before we get out of here, Chuck, I know this was a long one. Anything you got coming up, man? Anything you got shouting out?
No, man, I'm just gonna be grinding my games away, grinding the tape as usual. Keeping an eye on these dubs, but I'm just gonna be soaking it in with all these important games, the March Madness. It's gonna be fun. So yeah, just keep an eye on us. We'll have another one coming out soon, and yeah, I'm excited, man. I'm just
Fun time to
I'm
be
just
a basketball
overloaded on
fan, man.
excitement.
Fun time to be a basketball. As always, guys, keep following us, keep commenting and whatever, following us on Twitter. We will be here for the stretch run, the playoffs. It's going to be a lot of fun stuff to talk about. So come through on the Warriors Invitational. But till the next episode, guys. Peace.